Lynne?
Thank you, Liz. And thank you for inviting me. And I'm so happy to see so many people here. I do agree with you, Liz, that this is an important topic. And I think even though I look at my title slide here, I think that I might even say your personal and professional batteries, because now I'm convinced, especially after the last 11, well, almost year that we've been on, well, semi-lockdown, that you can't really separate personal and professional goals or your personal and professional life. So let's have a look at some ideas that I'd like to talk about, albeit very briefly this evening. I'm going to provide you with what I consider is an important rationale for this topic, why it's important, why we need to recharge. We're also going to take a look at our own definitions of success by examining some values that we have and comparing them to values that are pretty much out there in the literature. We'll talk about work-life balance, common traps that educators often fall into. We'll spend some time briefly on looking at and setting smarter goals and writing success statements. And then we'll look at and share some of not only my strategies for resetting the balance, but also I'm hoping to hear from many of you on how you've reset the balance throughout the last year. So let's get started. I think a rationale, the perfect rationale, is what has been happening through the last year. TESOL, or teaching professionals in general worldwide, not just in our own areas, have pretty much faced bigger, harder, and more demanding challenges than ever. And we could probably talk all evening on what the challenges are. You know, I still, on my desk at work, I still have a little like calendar that I got in Peru with little wooden blocks that is still set at the day that I went home to actually work online. And in case you're wondering, it was March 10th. So 2 days of piloting, and we're the higher colleges of technology. So we have a great infrastructure and we already did some online teaching, but boy, what a steep learning curve. How did we do it? Well, we did. And in fact, I don't know about you, but there hasn't been a day since March 10th last year that I didn't do some type of work in trying to be better at what I'm doing now online. And I think that's probably true of most teachers. Vacations were canceled. There was really no time to recharge. And I pretty much threw myself into, you know, something I never thought I'd have to throw myself into. And that's kind of learning a new kind of skill set that will probably take over what we're doing. So how do we do it? How do we create a climate that's both personal and professional that makes us capable of giving our best and getting the most out of life? So that's what this session is going to be about. So if we look at success, success in general is mostly viewed as being as advancing in the workplace. We view success through the possession of different material things that we covet, that we want, and financial gain. Now, advancement in the workplace, as we know, for teachers, oftentimes, this is one of those big leadership controversies as well. Because if you really like teaching, there's really, unless you're in a ranked position where you can apply for promotion, most teachers can't move up unless they go into management. And a teacher who really enjoys the classroom doesn't necessarily want to be an administrator or a supervisor or go into a management position. So the traditional views of success often don't coincide with how we view success. So because of these views of success, it's all too common for us to work longer hours so that we can have a better standard of living and neglect self-development, leisure time activities, and our own personal happiness, sadly enough. In fact, there's a statistic out there that, you know, in terms of our health and our self-care, oftentimes people spend more time looking after the health of their car and how it runs than they do actually of the health of their own personal health, sadly enough. So why do we need to recharge? Well, I'm sure you've all heard of burnout, and hopefully you haven't actually experienced burnout. A definition of burnout is a physiological condition of despair and detachment that often occurs with people who work with other people. And the bad news here is that teaching is amongst the top 5 professions that deal with other people. Now, who has it worse than we do? Well, doctors and nurses, because they also work with other people, but more often than not, especially nowadays, their interactions with people are negative because people are sick. At least teachers, our interactions with the people we work with are hopefully more often than not positive. Now, with burnout, sometimes it can get so severe that it can affect its victims physically. So here on this slide, you'll see some early warnings of burnout. So what I like to, if we were in a face-to-face environment, I'd say, read through the list, and the minute you get to one of the symptoms on this slide that you have experienced or are experienced now, raise your hand. For me, I don't even get past the first one because I always feel tired. And I don't know if it's because of I work too much or if it's because I'm home too much or whatever. So I often don't get past that first one. So you can see here, oftentimes there are, we experience different signs of burnout. Now, if you email me, and I'll give my email address on the last slide, and you'd like a copy of this PowerPoint, you might take this burnout vulnerability test to see if you're close to or are experienced in burnout. Now, what happens when we deal with burnout? Well, there's usually 3 ways that teachers deal with going through burnout. The more extreme is the first one on this slide. Some teachers just say, hey, I'm out of here. So they get out of teaching. They go find something else to do, and that's very unfortunate. Others take a middle of the road approach and they downshift. So they either take a less prestigious or a less demanding role. They go from full-time to part-time, or they have some duties reassigned to others, taken away from their own plate. And others, I think the healthy way to deal with burnout and to recharge is the third option on this slide, reframing your sense of identity. And you can do that by developing outside interests, placing more emphasis on your family and friends, and even relocation. So one of the things I'd like everybody to think about this question. For me, I'm always trying to look at the positive because I think negative thinking does really no one any good. So a lot of people have been saying, oh, this is the worst year of my life, etc. And in many ways, I haven't gotten to spend time with my sister, who's my only family member. And I haven't got to do my number 1 hobby, which is travel. But in many ways, I look back on the last year and I see a number of silver linings. So let's hear some of the silver linings. I'm going to share a couple of things that for me have been silver linings of the pandemic, and I'd like to hear some of yours. And if I can ask Lynn to read off a few from the chat that we get. So for me, one of the things that I have finally been able to do is get myself sorted in terms of doing my steps. So now it is easy for me to do anywhere from 10 to 15,000 steps a day. For many years, I have been trying to get myself organized to do this. Okay, it'd be greater if, some of my steps weren't always to the refrigerator. That would be good too. And if some of my steps were actually running steps rather than walking steps, but that's a silver lining for me. Another silver lining is that I have rediscovered Toastmasters, which until about 2013, I was extremely active in, but now I've joined an online club. I've started my second DTM and I'm going through the new Pathways curriculum. So that's 2 silver linings for me. So I'd like to hear some things that have been good that have helped you recharge throughout the last year? Can you read some from the chat, Lynn? Thanks.
Sure. Olenka says that she started to look at the positive things in life, which is a great silver lining to have. I can share my silver lining, which is I've actually cleared my backyard.
Okay.
I live backed onto a forest, and I've cleared my backyard. We've got more contact from friends from afar, singing along to my favorite songs. Okay, Liz, we're going to ask you to sing in a minute, Liz.
No. Yeah, I don't sing well. I just sing all the time.
Okay, and Melina says me too. I'm guessing that's for everything.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Another silver lining is this whole, I can attend 2 or 3 conferences in an entire weekend without leaving my bedroom or office space or whatever. So, okay, we don't have the face-to-face contact and networking, but it's still pretty interesting, I think. All right, so burnout is one of those issues that we all have to keep in mind and make sure to try to avoid. And if we do fall into some of those symptoms of burnout, we need to, I think, try to reframe our sense of identity and treat burnout in a healthy way. So why is this issue important for me? Well, it has come to my attention that people's perception of me was one-sided. I still remember an interaction I had a couple of years ago, and I walked in with a friend to a restaurant, and I saw some of my colleagues. And lots of times my colleagues, they talk to me about the thing that I'm known for, which is testing. So lots of the interactions, people come to my desk and I think, oh, they're gonna ask me something, say hi, but they come and say, well, do you have a test, like a reading test I might use? So we went into this restaurant and we kind of made eye contact with our colleagues. So I stepped over to the table and I thought, oh, here it comes, a social interaction. Well, no such luck. It was some kind of multiple choice question test. So I thought, maybe people do think that I'm kind of all business, or in this case, all testing. So I came to the realization that they were right. So I set out to achieve balance in my existence. And this presentation was the beginning of that balance. Wonderful. So the experts all say that in order to have balance, you have to know what success is for you. So for me, one of my major goals is to be successful in both work and in life. So we oftentimes have to examine what success means to us. And the best way to do that is clarify what our goals are. And of course, our goals come from our values, what purposes we play in life, what roles we take in life, and what our attitudes are. So for me, when I think about success, it means leading a fulfilling, balanced life. So let's have a look at values, okay? Now, one of the most important principles in balance and also in personal and professional strategic planning is to schedule time alone to think about what is important to you. And one of the recommended strategies to do this is to do a retreat. As you know, a retreat is kind of like a professional development event that happens in a low stress environment where you're comfortable, where you can relax, where you can unplug. So some of the things, well, what I recommend you do is find a place. Lynn, for you, it could be maybe in your backyard up against the forest that's behind. Many of you, for me, I like to go to pools. So my happy place now is the pool at the Raffles Hotel here in Dubai, where I go on weekends and spend the day in the water poolside. And think about what kind of person, what kind of partner, parent, friend, teacher, son, daughter, manager would you like to be? So what things are most important to you? What are your values? And then once you have defined what your values are, these will help you develop a vision. So could I have a couple of you pop some of your important values in the chat? And could I ask Liz if you could read a few of those values off?
Be happy to. I'm going to just talk for just a sec while people are writing. My role as a mom, I have an adult son with a wife and new baby, and my relationship with my son and his family is really something that I have worked to adjust in this time of isolation. They live far away. So Lynn says that her values are strong relationships with people. And that's really true, that I know how Lynn feels about that, and I do too. It's part of what we're doing in this professional learning network is creating networks and relationships. Simone says she's sorry she's late. She had time zone problems. We're welcoming her back. She presented with us last year. Linda says that her relationships with her family and her friends and her pets have been very important in this time. And John Schmidt says that they've had some forest clearing. He's in Austin, Texas, where there's been terrible weather of late and lots of emergency situation. John says forest clearing and landscaping in his yard, though Texas hill country forest must be different from Florida. No crocodiles in Austin. That's good, John. So well, the question is, what are our values that we're learning to test, Simone, in this time right now? Over to you, Christine.
Well, if you're like Liz and like Lynn, the most important value for most people is always family, friends, relationships of some sort. Others that are in the top 5 include the job. You know, in fact, my family would be first, but my job would be probably second. Leisure time activities, religion, things like that are common values that we have. So the next thing to do, and this is a particularly important step in personal and strategic planning, is to identify the critical areas of your life. And it is within these areas that you should be setting goals in. And of course, these areas of your life should be reflective of the values that you've just set for yourself. So there are lots of ways that you can figure out what your critical areas are. I've been a strategic planner personally and professionally since 2008. I have 9 critical areas on my PSP, but you can be as all-inclusive or as simplistic as you want. And I've given you an example. The Blair list has 10 critical areas, including personal, health, recreation, family, friends, community, career, finance, household, and religion. If you want to be simplistic and get started small, Simonelli and May recommend 4 critical areas: yourself, your family, your job, and community. So you can either use these sample lists or combine them to create your own. So once you have those critical areas of your life, then it's time to examine balance, okay? So research shows that people who live a balanced life have the following characteristics. And before I go through them, it's important to say that work-life balance is a huge issue. I don't think I need to tell you this if you're an educator or a teacher, you know, because our job would be 24/7 if we would let it. So work-life balance, if you feel that you have big issues with work-life balance, you are definitely not alone. I definitely feel your pain, as I'm sure many of you do. So people who do have it all together and have a balanced existence, they set achievable goals for themselves. They're goal-oriented, but yet they live life to its fullest. So they have a lot of enjoyment as well. They prioritize things that are important, and they don't nitpick about small things. They are positive in their attitude. They recognize success. And one of the things I used to have, the fatal flaw for living a balanced existence, is that I would ignore the many successes and the many achievements that I made and only focus and obsess about the things I haven't done. I am still obsessing about why I didn't finish the dive master course in 2007. Okay, I'm still. So, you know, I'm hoping that one day I'll be able to let it go. So far, I haven't been able to. So recognizing success is important, focusing on our values, and involving our families or those close to us in the development of our, whatever it is, our vision, our PSP, or our balanced existence.
Say PSP again. What is PSP?
PSP is a personal and professional strategic plan. All right, so what are some of the traps that we often fall into as teachers? Well, time management is one of the big ones. We have as teachers, when I have something important to do, I have the 4:30 a.m. wake up call. And I have more and more of these every month. When I simply don't have the time to get something done and it's a big task and I can't really do it at night because I'm too tired, I get up at 4:30 in the morning. So the start early, finish late mentality. Maybe some of you suffer from that as well. We also need to learn how to manage urgency. So if you're busy, it's good to be busy. And the happiness literature says busy people are happier than ones who have nothing to fill their time. So that's a good thing. But busy people also need to learn how to prioritize things and do things that are most important first. Living too fast. I don't know about you, and I try not to, have a to-do list that's 4 pages long. In fact, one of the things, I know I'm obsessive about my to-do list. I often have to-do lists when I get on an airplane. I know that is a bit strange, but flights from Dubai to the US are 15 hours long. So you can get a whole lot of stuff done in 15 hours. So living too fast, results should be measured in terms of, not in terms of speed, but in terms of quality of what you're doing. And also the activity trap, where we have so many activities that we have planned for ourselves, we don't really have time to relax and reflect. When we first went on lockdown, I, like many of you, I thought, oh goody, I've got time to do spring cleaning. Okay, so I really did a major spring clean, got rid of a whole bunch of stuff. 2 weeks later, I thought, okay, when are we going to go back to work? Spring cleaning is over. So I really did not think we would still be in the same kind of situation almost a year later. It's about time to probably embark on yet another spring clean. So having more time to reflect is really important. Now, work-life balance is important. Once we have set those critical areas, it's time to establish what we mean by success and identify and define roles that we play. So the major roles that I play are, I am a sister, I am a teacher, I am a mentor, I'm, what else? So many things. I'm a friend. So I have a few roles that are really important to me. So the next thing you need to think about is what type of roles you play in life. Then you move on to set short, mid, and long-term goals for yourself. Ones that are recommended in the literature are things you want to be, you hope to have, and you hope to do. And you all know the SMART goal analogy, right? I recommend you choose smarter goals, where the whole specificity, being able to measure whether the goals are achievable, realistic, relevant, and time-bound. The key to, I think, effective goals are ones that also extend you in some way and that are rewarding or fun for you. So I'm going to show you some examples from my PSP, Personal Strategic Plan, that are want to be, to do, to have, that are of the smarter variety. So for me, I always want to improve my teaching, and I want to also do it beyond and outside the classroom. So I co-created a club in 2009, which was called the Global Local Club. And this was a student and faculty travel club that took groups of students and teachers on low-cost trips to 16 different countries. Now, this is probably not going to happen anytime soon, but my goal is to relaunch this club on experiential learning in the future. Now, what kind of guise it will take, whether we'll actually be getting on airplanes and traveling to nice places and doing educational activities while there, remains to be seen. But I'm trying to re-envision this in the new day. So we might be doing things that are in country, we might be doing virtual trips, etc. So for me, sharing my love of travel is one thing that I want to help students with. My love of travel amongst the student body is well known, and I can't tell you the number of times students who I don't even know or teach have come to me for advice on, Miss, can you tell me a good place to go on my honeymoon? So I have planned so many honeymoons and so many spring break trips helping my students in that way. So that's my to-be goal. My to-do goal is a professional goal, and it's to edit a reference book on research questions in TESOL and applied linguistics. So I finally submitted the manuscript just a week ago, and hopefully it's going to be out by the end of the year. Okay, how did it extend me? Well, I think it's going to be a good resource for teachers, grad students, because there's 150 chapters, 700 pages, and each chapter is written by an expert in the field in that area and recommends resources and the most important research questions that need to be asked and answered within that field of study. So why is it rewarding? Well, I find it personally rewarding. And of course, seeing your name in print on the cover of a book is pretty cool, as many of you already have experienced. My last goal is a to have goal. And this, I made the decision to shift from buying things a number of years ago to spending my money on experiences. Okay, so my family were a bunch of travelers, so we're already planning 10 days in Hawaii in July 2021. So hopefully, we've already been there, but we haven't been there in a while. So given the situation, we've looked at various places to go. So that's probably hopefully that's going to take place. So those are some examples of smarter goals that you might set for yourself in one or more of the critical areas that you've selected. Now, the next interesting thing is a success statement. A success statement is recommended in the literature as being a reference point for you to enable you to assess your work and life balance. So your goals and your purpose, as well as your roles, should be present in this success statement. And it's almost like it's your own personal constitution. So the statement should inspire any decisions you make, influence your action, and guide you both personally and professionally. So I'm going to share my success statement with you. It's over the next 2 slides, and hopefully I'm going to inspire you to think about what your success statement is going to be. So for me, my success statement is to achieve a balance between work and my life, to address my family's needs first by contributing to their well-being and happiness. I am valued by my family, friends, colleagues, students. I achieve my career goals with great tenacity, celebrate my successes and those of others. I'm known for my sense of humor, active lifestyle, quest for adventure, and generosity. And I consider myself to be a team player and a mentor. I am committed to learning one new thing or skill every day, and I am committed to my hobbies of reading, watching TV and movies, traveling, diving, and Toastmasters as I am to my career. Self-care is now extremely important for me, and I try to relax and celebrate life every day. So you can see the roles. My roles are there. What were some of my roles? And if I can ask, maybe Melina, if you can turn on your mic and go to the chat box, what are some people saying as, what are some of the roles that I've identified in this success statement?
Family member.
Yep, okay.
Friend, also from Lynn.
Uh-huh.
And professional, supportive colleague.
Perfect, good. So you can see within a success statement, you are clarifying like a lot of things within, you know, your own being. And even though I started this, I revised this a bit a couple of years ago, it is still me. So it's kind of like when you read your horoscope and you think, that's really a good description of who you are and what you are. So I recommend that one strategy to recharge is to sit down and clarify who you are and what is success for you and what you want to be, but through the writing of your own success statement. So life is like a jigsaw puzzle made up of many pieces. And it's really important that you ensure you make time for every important aspect or piece of your life. Here are some of the ones that are important, I feel. And education, whether you're a student or whether you're a teacher engaged in lifelong learning, is high up on the list. Self-improvement, volunteer work, outreach and community, your leisure time activities, your job, your romantic relationships, all are very important. One thing I've noticed over the many years is if you look at life like a pie, there are many pieces to that pie. And one of the things I've noticed is if there are 5 pieces in the pie of my life, 3 or 4 of them are always going well, but 2 are oftentimes not going well. And then when you try to target the one or ones that are not going well, one of the ones that is going well, kind of, you drop the ball, like it's kind of like a juggler. So I'm trying to have everything go, you know, kind of have all the balls up in the air and have everything go the way I want it to go. So achieving balance through retooling, and Liz, and John, I think, is also in the audience. A few years ago, Liz, John, and I, we edited a book on, what was the name of it?
Retooling, reigniting,
retooling, and retiring in TESOL. Yeah. So in our retooling chapter, I think it's very relevant that we retool, upskill, upgrade ourselves with activities, things that we do now, things that we did in the past. For me, what I did in the past was Toastmasters, and now I'm back into Toastmasters, and it's serving as rejuvenation, re-energizing for me. Good. Something you have always wanted to do. I have always wanted to be able to speak Arabic. And I have recently started Zoom classes with an Arabic teacher. So inshallah, in a few months, I might be able to talk to you in Arabic, Liz. Get physically fit as well. Keep yourself professionally engaged. I just conducted a study with a number of teachers in this part of the world on aspects of professionalism. And there seems to be a deep divide about how teachers have engaged professionally. Now, I'm assuming, because you're all here, that your target during the pandemic is that you have kept yourself professionally engaged by participating in events like this. Some teachers, however, that participated in our focus groups did just the opposite. They couldn't deal with any kind of sessions. So we're finding that there was really no middle ground. For me, when we first locked down, I was so lonely. It was great to seeing people's faces on Zoom. So I went to anything and everything. I was not picky. But then I thought, boy, this is spending a lot of time sitting down. Maybe I'm going to be a little bit pickier and, you know, about choosing things that I think will add value. So it seems to be those who kind of do anything and everything or do a lot versus those who don't really do anything. So things that I like doing now, in fact, I'm embarrassed to admit how much time I spend watching Netflix and watching my series. Now, you know, it's, in fact, one of the things I'd love to ask you a question and get some Netflix recommendations in the chat box, because I'm almost finished with what I'm watching now. Things that you like doing in the past or things that you might like to learn how to do. So all of these kinds of things. And if we had more time together tonight, I'd get some of your ideas on these. And because I want to leave a little bit of time for some of your ideas, I'm going to finish up. So resetting the balance, I think for many of us is important, but we must first realize that balance in all of areas of our lives, it's normal that we are uneven in certain areas. I think using leisure time to put excitement back into our life is a good activity. And there are, even though we can't go out, we can't travel, we can't go to conferences, even to the movies, there are plenty of things we can do to enjoy our leisure time. If you're also extremely focused on stuff, try to find another focus. For me, I'm extremely focused and I have 2 major projects that have deadlines that I hope to meet within the next month. But then I have promised myself that I'm not taking any more books. They're both books, that I'm not taking anything on more, because I would like to have a few months of where I just do my job rather than my job plus, plus, plus. So balance, they say, is the key to sustainable long-term success. So I'm looking forward to hearing about some of the ways you have obtained balance, or you're trying, and how you have recharged your professional batteries. Before I stop sharing, here's my email. So if you'd like a copy of this PowerPoint, please go ahead and email me. But I'd like to stop sharing and then hear some thoughts from you all on recharging your professional batteries or resetting your life balance.
Oh, Christine, yay. Thank you. I'm so energized now.
Good, good. So I see George has given my favorite thing, and that's Netflix. Yep, me too. Me too. What else? Let's hear some of your strategies.
Please unmute yourself and just talk. We're a small group, so you can just unmute. So for me, I try to do one thing every day for my body, one thing for my soul, one thing for my mind. And usually I suffer because I struggle to do anything except mind. I'm learning every day how to use Zoom, how to use Google Docs, how to use, Lynn and I just set up a new Zoom account for this particular program. So many things you have to learn on your mind, but I really make an effort to just stop, turn off my phone, turn off the computer, and do my yoga or meditate, and just spend 20 minutes, not long, not a really long things, maybe longer sometimes, but only 20 minutes. I do it like it's a job. Yeah, like I have to do it, and I have to do it at 10 o'clock, or because if I don't do that, I won't do it. So body, mind, soul. In the Middle East, North Africa, and in South America too, you're better with the soul stuff because of religion and values being a different role from North America. We're crazy. I mean, we're a bit nuts. So it's very good, I think, to have a balance with body, mind, soul.
I really would like to learn to meditate. That would be a good topic. Maybe you've already done that on the career path development.
No, but I'm writing that down. Thank you. I think you're right. We did it. Remember at TESOL Arabia, we did a little bit. I was afraid at 400 people to meditate, but we did. I noticed, and I got some positive feedback. Mr. Boyum's here, and his face reminds me of. Go ahead, Richard.
Hi there. I don't know. Am I on mute?
Richard.
Nope.
Hi.
Good.
Okay. Well, I was going to comment on something else, but the meditate thread is a good one. It's easy to meditate in many, many, many systems. I started as a Peace Corps volunteer many years ago. I've kept it up, and I highly recommend. It doesn't take long, anywhere 10 to 20 minutes a day, more if you want. The Zen people go for hours. I usually do about 15 to 20. So yeah, pursue that, find some system that is available and do it. But what I was going to mention was the other angle is I'm coming at all this stuff from the other side, since I fully retired from State Department last February, just in time for lockdown. So it's been a little bit of a challenge figuring out. I have a lot of time for personal, but what professional? So those who are, if anybody's thinking of retiring, you're going to turn the mirror around and look at it through the other lens. And it was a bit in the doldrums for a while until I really kind of re-engaged and volunteered and got involved with a couple of TESOL committees, another foundation, and then a couple of these every once in a while, some of these kinds of webinars, either from TESOL or from other groups that have interesting projects. And also Coursera, there are these online courses that can help you either in your professional stream or in your personal interest stream. But I did find that after a while, going from 60 miles an hour as a professional, retiring to 0 was not healthy and not good. And so as those of you move into retirement, kind of think of a transition or kind of think of some way to keep engaging, maybe not at the 60-mile-an-hour limit, but at some reasonable speed.
Yeah,
That's
Richard.
good to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Liz, can I add something, Liz?
Yeah. Go.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm sorry I can't turn on my camera. I've got children at home, so things are not really. I just would like to thank Christine for this inspiring webinar. I really liked it. It puts the finger on the problem, really. So I just would like to share what I usually do. Well, I had a very busy January. So what I did, I just decided that every Sunday I took my family and we go to the beach, which is kind of 25 kilometers away from the city. We rent a self-catering apartment there, and we sleep there. I mean, for a night or two, but usually for one night. And I do meditate. As I wrote in the chat box, I go and complain to the sea, and I try to. I try to recharge.
To the sea?
Yes, certainly. Well, well, I try to recharge my batteries. I turn off my smartphone, and I try not to. To get any contact with any teacher, with any kind of education or any something of the kind. So that's what I usually do. And my plan this afternoon is to take my children to a forest nearby, near the city. So I have changed to not to the beach this time, but I'm going to the forest. So thank you very much. The meditation is really good, and I personally meditate, and I find it really useful for my soul and body. Thank you very much.
Hello, George says that the sea is good to complain because they don't answer back to you.
Christina, can I add?
Sure.
Sure. I'm 24 and I have not played video games for 20 years, building my place, working hard, and during this pandemic, as I said, to recharge. Yes.
Yeah.
I will buy a PlayStation. My students they talk about a lot of video games. My mother language is Portuguese, and my students has talked about name of video games a lot. And now I recharge my energy, and now next year presential classes, I think I will be able to talk about video games, Call of Duty, God of War, and I think I can help you then. And I relaxed doing that. I'm happy with this experience. 20 years, I have not played video games for. Last version was Super Nintendo. Today, my students are talking about PlayStation 4, and
Great.
I use this strategy.
Simone had something she wanted to
Okay,
add.
yes.
Hey, hi.
Thank you, Lynn. I'm sorry for being late. It's lunchtime here in Brazil. Okay, really sorry. Christine, I'm sorry. I never do it.
No problem.
Well, you were talking about being pickier because you started doing many things, right? Because due to the pandemic, I did the same. When I heard you, I said, oh my God, I did this exactly the same as you did. And I started getting sick because of that. I got anxiety, lots of work, lots of classes to prepare, different kinds of classes because they were online. And then I started to realize, I stopped and realized that I needed time for myself. And then I did exactly the same. I started to select what was important. And Netflix also helped me a lot because I can practice English because I only watch those series in English. And I was having fun at the same time. I was relaxing, doing something that I enjoy. So it was really thought-provoking, your talk, because I felt exactly in your shoes. It's really interesting. Yeah, all of us teachers, I think we felt the same way.
Well,
Thank you very much.
For me, I was surprised. And after a while, I thought, oh, this is an interesting experiment because I'm at home, even though I work, my life can be self-directed. I can decide, when I do. And one of the biggest surprises for me was that online teaching was so tiring. I thought, oh, how hard can it be sitting in your favorite chair for 2 hours at a time? And literally,
exactly,
when I finish a 2-hour class, I have to rest for 20 minutes before I even stand up. Maybe it's me because I'm of a certain age. I'm not sure. Maybe it's easier, but it's so much easier for me to teach in a classroom with a physical, because here we've got, first of all, it's weird for me to look at the screen and see my own face and no one else's face because our students don't turn on cameras and they just sit there basically. And I ask the same questions 3 or 4 times. I try not, and then I finally decided I have to try to not make facial expressions so they think I'm mad at them. So I got, at least looking at myself in Zoom or in Collaborate, I could see when my facial expressions weren't positive. But that has been one of the biggest surprises for me. So yes, there has to be, well, as I've said, balance. You can't run yourself ragged. You need to take a balance. And one of the things that work from home is good at is that, I can do something for an hour and then I could stand up and go take a walk around the block, basically, to get some movement or some time outside in the sun.
Nice. That's how we got started with the career path development. It was before COVID that we did, but John and I and others created this group because so much of what we were hearing was about how teachers are bad. Learn these 3 strategies. Don't forget to try these 10 apps. These messages to teachers that they were failing, that they were weak, that they were unable to manage. And our experience was just that was not true. The teachers are resilient and gritty and eager to learn new things and willing to participate in new activities and new ways of delivering instruction and still retaining excellence. Yeah, it's not about lowering standard, but we wanted a place and time for, and which is what we're doing here, talking about teachers and what their needs are. And those are different from what students need. We all agree that students need good instruction, okay, but we are teachers and we need to have what Christine's talking about, a balance and a sense of a plan and a way of being happy and healthy in our professional lives. So Christine, you've done a great job of recharging our batteries. I brought my battery.
I hope so.
My
I hope
battery's feeling much heavier now.
Mhm. And you know, I have to say, Liz, that we did it, and we did it, some of us in 2 days. We were sent home and then we were up and running in 2 days. We didn't have 6 months of planning time. Okay, we kind of just went with it, and we developed, when our institutions didn't provide us with the training we needed, we put it on ourselves. We found
Yeah.
it ourselves and learned
Yeah.
it. So
Yes. And choice, we didn't choose it. Yeah, it came at us with a surprise, and we
Yeah.
did it, and we all are doing it today, and we'll do it tomorrow. It's an extraordinary phenomenon what's happened in our field in the last year. And George has worked very closely with the affiliates of TESOL around the world and created what I think is really a model for international collaborations. We in our small group do the same. We collaborate with colleagues that we never would have met before. So hooray for all of us. We're doing good work. Christine, heartfelt thanks. We're coming up on the end of our hour, but we do have time. We can take 1 or 2 more questions. Lynn, is that okay? I'd like to invite anyone who's got a question to ask it now.
Me?
Yeah, Olenka, go ahead.
Well, thank you very much, Christine Coombe, for this wonderful presentation. I always enter to your workshops because I learn from you a lot. Okay, I remember when you came to my birthplace, Trujillo, I was there with Peru TESOL. Yes, and you came to Peru like 2 or 3 times, okay? And I went to different places since I was a university student. So this is the way that you and other professors told me since I was, in the university, to be a speaker. I started to be a Peru TESOL speaker since 2009, and then year by year I traveled to different parts of Peru, and then I traveled to other countries. So you motivate me a lot, okay, doing research, attending your presentation, and the most important is to learn from each other and communicate your ideas. It's not only for you. I love doing research and learning different things, different tech tools, because I am a computer system engineer too. So I love combining my 2 professions, like an English teacher and also a computing engineer, to help, okay? Especially in Peru, because the technology is not good and we need a lot of training for that. So thank you very much, because you inspire not only me, but also a lot of Peruvian teachers and teachers around the world. Thank you, Christine. And
thanks so much,
to
Olenka.
everybody.
Thank you. That's nice to hear.
That was beautiful, Olenka. Thank you so much for sharing those really profound milestones in your career with Christine and probably all of us. Thank you all.
Okay, Liz, I've got a question for Christine, if you permit, please.
This will be sure, Allah, go ahead. Last question.
Thank you very much. Okay, Christine, thank you very much again. I was inspired by the seminar that you attended, you were a speaker when in 2002 in Rabat. And since then, I'm really keen on assessment and evaluation. And next week, next Saturday, I'm going to present a paper here in Lyon, in the region, on assessment. And that's really inspiring. I just would like to ask you, I'm sorry, it's a little bit out of context, but I would like to ask you if there is anything to send, any article or anything to send to me, or any ideas or pieces of advice before I conduct my paper next Saturday. Thank you very much, Christine.
If you email me, Allah, I can send you some resources if you'd like. But you need to tell me what focus of assessment, because assessment's kind of a broad topic. So tell me how you're going to tailor it. Okay.
Okay.
But send me an email and maybe I've got some resources that I can send.
Okay. I'll give you details, inshallah, in the email.
Perfect. Good.
Great networking here, folks. Well done. Thank you so much. Last word, Christine, you get the last word and we're going to close. I want to remind us all of the next event for our group is on Saturday, March 6th. It's from Kariman Mohsen in Egypt. She's going to be talking to us about promoting effectiveness in education, where you have to implement change and education and change for teachers. So it's going to be a very nice session. Kariman Mohsen on Saturday, March 6th. That's 2 p.m. in Cairo, which is 7 a.m. for us in the East Coast. And we'll be sending out a note about that soon. Christine, last word.
Thanks, everyone. It was great seeing you all. I hope to catch you on other topics. I don't know about 7 a.m. I'll have to figure that out. Do you have a special time that you meet every month, or is it?
We don't pay, as you know, we can't pay speakers. So we try to be extremely flexible to get the excellent presenters we have who are generous, but we always tell them what is good for you is what we do. And sometimes it's not so great for us, but for now anyway, that's the way we're doing it. I was up, I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
I know, I'm so sorry for that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's the things we do for love, right? It's great.
Well, I'll leave
Thank you,
with,
Liz.
thank you. I'll leave you with some research on productivity. One of the most consistent findings of the most productive people and the most efficient people on earth is that they get up early, and most do so and between 4:30 and 5 o'clock. So it's helping you increase your productivity levels every time you get up at an ungodly hour. So with that, I'll say good night or good morning to all of you, or good night, depending on where you are, and hope to see you at an event in the future.
So happy to see you all. Lynn, I need you for a minute at the end. Thank you all for coming today. Tell all your friends we have a recording that we'll post soon for those who were unable to be here. Bye-bye now. Have a good evening and a good morning.
Bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.